President-elect Trump pledged his aid in helping top tech executives continue to innovate during a meeting Wednesday. Mr. Trump hosted a technology summit at Trump Tower here in New York City with some of the industry's biggest names, among them Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, Apple's Tim Cook, and Tesla's Elon Musk. Glaring in its absence, Twitter. There's been buzz that the company's non-attendance was possibly over an emoji deal feud. Asked about whether Twitter was intentionally not invited, Sean Spicer, communications director for the RNC, told MSNBC it's, quote, petty and ridiculous.
The conference table was only so big. Okay, there was a lot of companies, and if you go down the list of the top tech companies, I guarantee you'll find additional ones that weren't there. This was not an intentional slight. And it's frankly ridiculous that you're sitting around, there is only so many people that can actually sit around a conference table. It was packed. And there were tens, if not hundreds, of other companies and executives that were dying to get in this meeting. So the idea that Twitter is that petty, that they're talking about that some press flack, has the authority to decide who Donald Trump will meet with is ridiculous.
Despite any friction over invites, Mr. Trump opened with praise for the industry.
So right now, everybody in this room has to like me at least a little bit, but we're going to try and have that bounce continue. And perhaps even more importantly, we want you to keep going with the incredible innovation. There's nobody like you in the world. There's nobody like the people in this room. And anything we can do to help this go along, and we're going to be there for you. And you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command around here.
Nick Thompson is the editor of NewYorker.com, and he is with me now. So, Nick, that was so interesting to see that on the list of companies represented, noticeably absent was Twitter.
I know, it's strange. It's the
president-elect's preferred method of communication. It's something that he's talked about, enjoying that direct contact he has where he's able to get his messages out straight to his supporters.
So Donald Trump loves Twitter, loves using Twitter, but I guess he doesn't love Twitter's executives, so they got bounced from the list.
What was the story behind that?
All right, so we don't know exactly, but it sure seems that what happened was that Twitter and Trump are at war over emojis. And that Trump wanted to use an emoji that symbolized Crooked Hillary during the campaign, felt like he had a deal with Twitter where he could use it, and that Twitter blocked him. Trump says this is because they're partisan. They don't like me. And it is true that most of the people who run Twitter are openly liberals. Twitter says, no, it's because we thought it was a kind of political speech that we didn't countenance and that we thought there would have to be certain regulations that would go into it, and we would have blocked it for any other candidate. So there's a little bit of a dispute, and Trump, as is his nature, is using a little bit of retribution here.
So what are the implications of that? You know, people look at this and they say, this is the action he's taking even before getting into office.
I mean, I don't know. It's not like the meeting was a hugely consequential one where if you didn't go to the meeting was just get to know the president a little bit, and he'll tell you about how great his initiatives are going to be for you. You make peace with him a little bit. It's not like Twitter really missed out on something absolutely crucial and there'd be grave consequences. It just shows that Trump can be petty.
Okay.
But we kind of knew that.
Well, we're talking about the fact that the Twitter wasn't invited. We heard the president-elect open that meeting saying, quote, this is a truly amazing group of people. But the president-elect has actually clashed with many of those leaders around the table. Yeah. So what is the goal, really, when you look at that group of folks and the president-elect and their background? What was the goal of that meeting?
Well, the goal of the meeting, I think, for Trump, the goal of the meeting is that these people really do play a massive role in the American economy, right? It is incredible. The 5 largest companies in the world are American tech companies. That's nuts. And if you look at our economic decline, you look at all the economic problems in this country, not that the country is declining, but you look at all the sort of rough spots that the country has had, that we have been able to do that is incredible. And any president should, be grateful for that and should want them as allies. So he wants to bring them in, to work with them, to help them. Obviously, they're important for his messaging. They're important for everything he wants to get out there. And they're just important people in America. So that's part of what he's doing. Also, they're all liberals. They're not all liberals, but they're mostly liberals, right? They live in San Francisco for the most part. Tech companies generally choose highly educated people who live in diverse areas in major cities. Like, those are not the people who tended to support Trump. Some do, some don't. So he also wanted to say, okay, now come on and let's play on my team. For the tech companies, there's a part of Silicon Valley, go on Twitter today, and there are a lot of important people in Silicon Valley who are saying, you guys are Quislings, you're chickening out, you need to stand in the resistance against Donald Trump, right? 90% of the employees at these companies stood against Trump. So, but what the leaders are doing is they're saying, we may oppose Trump. We may have said things about Trump that were critical of him, but really, he's president of this country. Our users are the whole world, the whole country. We can't alienate our users. There are a lot of conservatives who use every single one of these platforms. Conservatives buy stuff on Amazon, too. So they are there making peace. So it was it's not really breaking bread, because Trump doesn't break bread, but it was a way for Trump to, bring them in a relatively kind situation, and a way for them to say, you know what? We said some mean things, but, we're in for the money, and we know you're an important person. Let's make it happen.
Show some goodwill.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about these leaders, though. I mean, you can guess what kind of issues are important to them. Things like net neutrality. We've heard about immigration. Where do you think their focus is when it comes to the issues and the things that they want to focus on with this incoming administration?
Well, so there are going to be a bunch of things where they're going to have very divergent views, right? So immigration is one, right? All these tech companies, they want to bring in as many people as possible from India, for example. They want H-1B visas. Trump is going to be probably opposed to that, but you can also see his
immigration. He kind of talked, though, in the past, early on in the campaign, about that being something that was not necessarily a bad thing, to get people from other countries, the best folks from
Right, you
other
can actually imagine a situation where there's a compromise, right? There was a very brief window in the campaign where it looked like actually Trump's immigration strategy wasn't going to be no, no, no.
Right.
It was going to be no, no. Well, yes, if you're rich and you want to work for an American tech company.
And you're educated. Yeah.
Right. So they could actually break ground there. There is net neutrality, right? Almost all of these tech companies care deeply about net neutrality. They would like it to be protected. Trump has given every sign that he's going to be on the exact other side of that issue. So that is going to be tough. Trump has also said he wants manufacturing to come back to the United States. Tech companies, Apple doesn't really want to make its iPhones here. It would kind of make a few iPhones as a public statement, but I don't think it really wants to increase the cost of iPhones, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think what the tech companies want is what a lot of business people want, and they want stability. And so they want to get to know the president, they want to be involved, they want to help kind of smooth things out and make it more rational. It should also be pointed out that these people are really, really rich, and I imagine that they don't dislike lowering taxes on the rich.
Yeah, right. That's something that I think a lot of wealthy people in business would love to hear and love to see implemented. So last question for you, Nick. It was interesting to look at the tableau of people that were actually at that meeting. So we saw, of course, Mr. Trump's 3 oldest children. We saw Jared Kushner. We saw Peter Thiel, an advisor to Trump, who basically helped plan this meeting. I wonder what stood out to you when you looked at that group of folks.
I was just trying to figure out the seating arrangement, right? Okay, so who exactly is all right? There's Trump, there's Peter Thiel right next to him. I was interested that Sheryl Sandberg was closer than Larry Page, and that Jeff Bezos was kind of on the end there. I mean, honestly, Bezos is the most interesting. His relationship with Trump is the most interesting of all these people.
Why do you say that?
Because, all right, so he has Amazon, which has no political agenda. Everybody uses Amazon. But it's kind of a monopoly, and you could imagine government action against Bezos. He was critical of Trump. And then he also owns the Washington Post. Right? The Washington Post responsible for more deep investigative reporting that caused Trump a lot of troubles on the campaign trail. Trump does not like the Washington Post. Everything the Washington Post has said, as far as we know, has been entirely correct and good and all that. But Trump is at war with the Post. So is he going to carry that war with the Post into a war with Amazon and a war with Bezos? I don't know. We'll see about that.
All right, stay tuned. Nick Thompson, great to have you here. Thanks.
Great to be here.